Plaintiff Brittany Moody is suing her former roommate for unpaid rent, bills, and emotional distress. Brittany says the defendant made her life a living hell because she constantly smoked marijuana in their living room while Brittany was pregnant. Defendant Brianna Ildefonso admits to smoking marijuana, but she says she wasn't alone because despite Brittany's pregnancy, Brittany drank wine by the bottle and never knew the father of the baby. Brianna says she doesn't owe Brittany a dime.
Brittany Moody is suing Brianna Ildefonso for unpaid rent, utility bills, and emotional distress. You are former roommates. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, Brittany, why are you here today?
Essentially, Your Honor, I'm here because I thought that Brianna was my friend, and she's not. We met 3 years ago through mutual friends, and we got along really well. And last year in April, I broke up with my boyfriend around the same time that my lease was up, and she suggested that I move in with her and her boyfriend in a different apartment in the same complex. So we did that, and I should have thought that something was up at that time because she refused to put her name on the lease because she said that her ex-boyfriend had stolen her identity and she wasn't able to have her credit run. It didn't really make much sense to me, but I went along with it because I had no reason to.
Did you tell her that?
What had happened, it was actually an agreement between my ex-boyfriend and I because of the fact moving in together, you'd be stuck on the lease. So him and I had to lease. If both of us were there and something were to happen, then we'd both have to stay there.
All right, so you didn't plan that this relationship with your boyfriend would last, so you figured that only one of you should be on the lease.
No, I figured that it would last, but I mean, legality-wise, I didn't want to be stuck living with somebody or having to pay for something if something did go wrong.
So you lied to her, yes or no?
Correct, I did.
Okay, all right, back to you, Brittany.
After we moved in, everything was pretty good between the three of us. We agreed to split everything 3 ways equally. Soon after that, I found out that I was pregnant, and they were very supportive of everything, and everything went really well.
Was this by the boyfriend who moved out?
Yeah. No, actually it wasn't. I thought that
another guy?
No, it was a big thing, but I started dating somebody right after that, and that's no, he's not the father. I'm sorry.
I don't know either one of them, but did you have the baby?
I have his father's a part of his life now.
Okay, how old's the baby?
He's 5 months.
Congratulations, you look terrific. By the way.
Thank you.
Good for you. What's his name?
Gabriel.
Very sweet. Okay.
Yeah. She broke up with her boyfriend, I believe, in the end of June or beginning of July, and kicked him out. And
you're right. So you had a premonition.
No, what happened was he lost his job in June. So he was unable to pay for his third of anything.
Right.
Things had just gotten chaotic between the two of us because I was taking on his finances as well. That is why we broke up. And he had asked me if I would stay because he couldn't afford the rent to stay there. I had told him, okay, fine, you have to pay me back at a later date, which he has been doing.
So you covered his rent.
Correct.
So that's good. We're still good friends because what's happening is even though her boyfriend moves out, she's making good to you on his share of the rent.
Right.
That's all good.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, so where's the breakdown?
After that, it started to become a pretty bad living situation. She became extremely disrespectful. I went out in the living room one night and she was smoking weed out of a bong in the living room.
Your Honor. Brittany is not this innocent little girl. When she was pregnant,
I'm not saying that I am innocent.
She was drinking. She was told she could have 1 glass of wine a night, and that quickly turned into multiple bottles that we would find.
That is completely false.
She then went out with her girlfriends, one of which was pregnant. I'm 21.
I'm 22.
Did you do drugs while she was pregnant in their living room?
I did, because she was out drinking and it wasn't an issue, so I didn't see why it was an issue.
It was totally an issue. I'm sorry. We had previously agreed that if she was going to do whatever...
Did you drink during your pregnancy?
No, absolutely not.
Yes,
I had a glass of wine because I was told by my doctor that I was allowed to have a glass of red wine, and that's it. Nothing more.
Because let's back up on that with the baby daddy situation. I actually don't know who the father is, but how it had started was when she got kicked out. No. But when she got kicked out, she made it my business.
It doesn't matter. So...
Right.
You're smoking your bong in the living room.
Correct. And she had been drinking, so it wasn't an issue.
But you knew
if she was
pregnant.
Disrespecting herself while she was pregnant, then that's on her.
Then you're going to disrespect her too.
We have an agreement.
I had been paying 2/3 of the rent there and dealing with all of the drama of who's the new baby father and all that.
You thought you had superior rights because you're paying 2/3 of the rent.
No, when she disrespected herself by drinking multiple bottles and going out and getting drunk.
Services, it's not up to you to make
No, but
that
if she's going to make it not a big deal for her own body, specifically specifically when she's doing it,
Sorry,
then why do
Your Honor,
I
we
have
had
to
an
put out the
agreement
effort
that
for
if
it?
she was going to do whatever she was going to do, it wasn't going to be in common areas because I was trying to look out for myself and my child. If she was going to do it, I didn't want to know about it, and I didn't want it in the living room or anywhere else that we were going to be together.
Okay, what else did she do that stressed you out? Because you are suing her for emotional distress.
Yes, ma'am. I found out a week into her new relationship with some guy that she'd given him a key. I didn't even know his name. I didn't know him. He'd never spoken to me before.
Did you do that? You give him a key?
I had talked to her about him coming over, and she had told me how, well, with him coming over, I'm not exactly all that thrilled about guys in general because of what had happened with her and her ex. And she gave him attitude, and then, we had the conversation. I had told him, you need to talk with her again. She had done the same thing, and I told him, you know what, then that's it.
All right, there's a lot of unnecessary trauma going on here. The woman is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
She's alone. She doesn't mind that you date. I'm not even going to ask her that. But I think what she minds is a guy coming in that she doesn't know having a key to her apartment. Because when you're pregnant, you feel vulnerable. Okay. Mm-hmm. Every woman in this audience knows that. There's something about being pregnant. You just, you worry. All right. Now, so what are you suing her for?
In October, the 24th of the month.
Yes.
She, it was a Friday, and I came out of my room and I realized that she was home from work, which was not normal. And she said she was just taking the day off. So I went into the kitchen. It sounds ridiculous, but I went in the kitchen and I was going to make a bowl of cereal, and I noticed that there was no silverware. And I asked her where the silverware was, and she was like, "Oh, I'm taking it with me. I'm moving out today."
This is October 24th?
Yes.
Had she told you before then that she was moving out?
Not a single word about moving out.
Did you tell her before then you were moving out?
Yes, I did. We talked back in August 4th.
Okay.
When
August
she had
4th.
told me exactly, I don't care, move out, do whatever you want.
I have the same email she's talking about, and she flat out says, "I'm not the kind of person that would leave someone high and dry. I have no problem staying and paying rent until the lease is
Can
up."
I ask you too, do you have a written agreement between each other, with each other?
We had a verbal
But
agreement.
yet you write down every catty thing the other person said. Why didn't you just have a written agreement to begin with?
I honestly didn't think it was going to be an issue when I moved in because we'd known each other for years, and
You're saying on October 24th,
when I was
she
7 months
is
pregnant,
moving.
by the way, she decided to move out, and I had no notice whatsoever, and she didn't discuss it with me at all. And all of a sudden, there's a bunch of her friends in my apartment moving stuff out of the apartment, and I started crying, and I was like, "Are you seriously moving out?" And she's like, "Well, my parents said I'm not on the lease, so I can leave whenever I want." And I asked her if she was planning on paying rent, and she's like, "It's not my responsibility. Sorry."
So you're on the lease with the ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
The ex-boyfriend moved out.
Yes.
When?
He moved out in July, I believe.
Do you end up getting a new tenant or a new roommate when she moves out?
I did eventually. He came in and took over the apartment with her ex-boyfriend. Moved back.
He comes back?
He came into the apartment.
Yes.
In the end of November, beginning of December.
Why did he come back? Because she moved out?
Because we were both on the lease.
You're telling her that you told her in August that you were moving out in October.
I had talked to her and told her that I had found a place and I will be moving next month.
How many days before October 24th did you actually tell her you were moving out?
End of September.
Okay. End of September.
That's it,
Okay,
correct.
good. And so your ex-boyfriend is alerted that you're moving out, so he jumps
Correct.
back in on the lease.
Yes. So
when
she
does he
called
come
him.
back on the lease?
He states that he came back the next week, that he had moved in because they talked and she asked, "What are you going to do?"
Did
and
he
he said,
come in
"I'm
the next
moving
week?
back
No,
in."
He was
because-
staying there occasionally when he would go out drinking or whatever down the street. He'd come back to the apartment and stay there, but he had not moved back in until the end of November or the beginning of December. And I'm only suing for the
Okay,
first
do we have a
month's rent.
statement from him as to when he moved back in? Because that's very relevant.
I do.
You do? Good. Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, Doug. She was not going to be on the lease, that we know. Bills were split 3 ways. There's no question you were
Right.
splitting the bills 3 ways. So he says he moved back in November. Okay, good. The issue here is very simple. It's whether or not the defendant is liable to the plaintiff for rent. And the plaintiff, of course, is alleging that the defendant owes her money for rent because she moved out earlier than she thinks she should have moved out. She has an obligation to give at least 30 days notice to the plaintiff here that she is going to move out. I'm going to require you to pay half, so that's going to be $523, $87 for utilities. Now, emotional distress, it's very hard when you're pregnant. It is. The world just seems different. You feel vulnerable. You didn't have a husband. You're having trouble with your roommate who's moving out. One guy's moving in. Your life is upside down. It was stressful. Don't think for 1 second that I don't think it was stressful. But in order to get an award for money for emotional distress, it's got to be so outrageous, so consistent, so inappropriate that anyone would think that you're deserving of a quantifiable amount of money. That's not the case here. But I wish you well with your baby.
Thank you.
Verdict for the plaintiff, $610. Thank you.
She's very promiscuous. She's openly admitted to having eightsomes in the past. And in doing so and hooking up with multiple guys after you get out of a relationship, that's the risk you run.
Oh my goodness, that is ridiculous. Thanks for that. Anyways, I'm not the only one who has slept with more than one person.
I didn't
right over
sleep
there.
with 8 people at the same time.
I didn't either. Thanks, though.
You told me.
You are ridiculous. Can we
Drama still.
we need to move out of this area because it's going to get really bad in a second? Can we thank you.